Representative Matt Gaetz is under investigation by the Department of Justice. In fact, this investigation began under Trump's Department of Justice, and former Attorney General William Barr is the one who launched the investigation. Now, what is this about? Well, there are allegations that Matt Gaetz, who is 38 years old, engaged in a sexual relationship with a minor, a 17-year-old at the time. And there are also allegations that he had paid for this person's travel, which is a federal crime. The allegation is that he paid money to have her travel and have sex with her. So again, this is an allegation. It is being investigated, but we're now learning more about what the investigation entails. So the New York Times is reporting that Gaetz was actually implicated in a broader investigation into a political ally of his, a local official in Florida named Joel Greenberg, who was indicted last summer on an array of charges, including sex trafficking of a child and financially supporting people in exchange for sex, at least one of whom was an underage girl. Now that's the associate Greenberg, who Gaetz is associated with. When it comes to Matt Gaetz, apparently he had that sexual relationship, allegedly had that sexual relationship with someone who was underage, and he seems to be denying it. In an interview, that his lawyer, in an interview, he said that his lawyers had been in touch with the Department of Justice, and he also says, "I only know that it has to do with women. I have a suspicion that someone is trying to recategorize my generosity to ex-girlfriends as something more untoward." But one other thing to keep in mind is that Matt Gaetz recently, based on reporting from Axios, considered quitting Congress to be a full-time person. I don't know, I can't say reporter, I can't say anchor, I don't know, personality over at Newsmax or some other conservative outlet. I don't know if the two stories are tied, but if I were to speculate, and this is a speculation, I think they're tied. But we'll see how this plays out. Aida, any thoughts?
How on brand? You mean to tell me the guy who is always, who was the literal hype man for Donald Trump, the man who said, all you gotta do is grab him by the vagina. I mean, it's the man who said he would date his daughter if it wasn't his daughter. The man who's been also accused of inappropriate behaviors and actions towards minors that are young women or whatever. And just the crew, like birds of a feather. I'm not surprised. I hope it's not true for the sake of the young woman. That's where I hope it's not true, because that's damaging. That's lifelong damage. But I just think the cavalier attitude and the whole, the haughtiness that comes along with the privilege, the entitlement and the sexism that's all wrapped up into what is that big head of Matt Gaetz is disgusting to me. To just be able to sit there and say, oh, I think someone is trying to recategorize, my generosity towards ex-girlfriends, which is just sexist unto itself. It's just like, it's so gross, and it is an attitude towards women that's very toxic and very alive and well within a certain sector of these men who are also politicians and public officials, and it's gross. And if he is responsible for it, I hope he gets in trouble for it, not just reassigned to another section where he can continue to contaminate America and the earth with that foolish rhetoric that comes out of his mouth.
I do find it fascinating that regardless of how much of a Trump loyalist Matt Gaetz was, till the very end of Trump's administration, it didn't stop, and I'm happy about this, it didn't stop William Barr from launching the investigation in the tail end of Trump's administration. That's good news. I mean, that's pretty much the only props I can really give William Barr. But I'm glad that they're investigating this. Matt Gaetz alleges that this is really nothing more than an attempt to extort him and his family of $25 million. And that when someone approached him recently to say that they could make it all go away, he immediately went to the FBI. Obviously, this is his perspective and his take. This is what he's telling the media. But again, I really want to reiterate that if this is proven to be true, this is a federal crime. Paying for a minor to travel across state lines and then to engage in sex with an underage person is a federal crime, a very serious one. And we'll see how it plays out. But for now, he's denying it. For now, I'm sure he wants people to think that potentially quitting Congress to be a full-time Newsmax talking head is not in any way connected. We'll see, but here's Matt Gaetz, never one to hide his pervy feelings on Twitter, right? Like I think maybe he's regretting that a little bit now. His little tweets toward Tiffany Trump and all that.
Yeah, I was gonna say even towards Tiffany Trump. What I think is genius, because those of us that come from the places that we come from have to sometimes use our spidey skills. The fact that he tweeted all of that information, which is something that people don't divulge, like you don't give out the information. My father's even been wearing a wire. Like who tells that they've been wearing a wire? I mean, it's just trying all the justification or trying to say, look, you see what they're trying to do to us? It just seems kind of strange because you don't tell that you're wearing a wire.
Can we throw those tweets up again? Because I want to read them for our audio only listeners. So Matt Gaetz tweeted the following: over the past several weeks, my family and I have been victims of an organized criminal extortion involving a former DOJ official seeking $25 million while threatening to smear my name. We have been cooperating with federal authorities in this matter, and my father has been wearing a wire at the FBI's direction to catch these criminals. They planted leak. The planted leak to the FBI tonight was intended to thwart that investigation. No part of the allegations against me are true, and the people pushing these lies are targets of the ongoing extortion investigation. I demand the DOJ immediately release the tapes made at their direction, which implicate their former colleague in crimes against me based on false allegations. This article identifies me as a South Florida Congress, blah, 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 whatever, it doesn't matter. But the point that, yeah, like, oh, look, I caught them in one mistake, which means that it's going to, void everything in the article, whatever.
But this criminal establishment, they don't have Twitter. They don't have Twitter. That's why he tweeted all of the information in the tweet. It's like these criminals, this organization, these big crime people. My father's been wearing a wire to try to catch. I can tell y'all on Twitter because they don't tweet. Come on, man, get out of here.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.